But I think, at least from my experience, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, like, for example, if something went bad in my life, and this, then some people think, oh, God must be punishing me. I must have done something wrong, because I'm supposed to be living this good life now that I'm in Christ. And so it just conjures up all these questions that for people that make it really difficult for them. It's like when you have a punitive God over your shoulder, right? It's very stressful.
Right. And if you add that into this idea that God already knows everything that's going to happen in the future, which we already just kind of briefly touched on with open relational stuff, that's a deadly mix. Well, God knew this was going to happen, and I'm being punished. It puts us in a really difficult position. It's fascinating. You might relate to this as well, and maybe some listeners, but there's been several things that have helped me, but one of the things that's helped me over the years is to just get into a little bit of psychology, and not only to get some therapy myself, and not only to study it myself, but also to talk to counselor friends. And I was amazed to think in terms of like just very basic Carl Rogers kind of stuff of like the counselor there, no matter kind of what therapy you're using, psychoanalysis isn't quite this intense, but all the other forms, the idea is you give unconditional positive regard. You're creating a space where that person feels at home. And the kinds of things we're talking about, I connected the dots one day and I realized, oh my word, theologically, we have not done a very good job. Actually, we've done a terrible job of creating unconditional positive regard. We have set this thing up where the poor babies are born into humanity saddled with an unpayable debt because of something that someone did, centuries before. And it's the opposite of unconditional positive regard. And when you start pulling at that thread, man, you realize it is connected to everything. It's connected to our thoughts about hell and about any kind of deviations from normal patterns in society. If you want to talk about sexuality and those kinds of things, it's connected to a lot of stuff. So it's really important.
It's very critical. I mean, I think of also the practice of spanking your kids, for example, and the doctrine of original depravity. All these things are kind of tied together because why does God have to have a payment?